This YouTuber went from an average retention graph that looked like this to an average retention graph that now looks like this, resulting in 1 million views in 1 year, exploding his channel's growth. Meet the face behind the music production channel, Plugin Alley. John had spent nearly a year testing and trying different methods until he found the one thing that changed his channel's entire trajectory. And in this video, not only is John going to reveal what the game changer for his channel was and how you can steal it, but you'll also get juicy pieces of YouTube script writing advice that you might not see anywhere else. Let's get into it.
The hard learning year, and 2023 was when I took everything that I've learned and made changes, and like, even though Ed teaches a lot of like things that work, you don't actually know what works until you experiment on your own channel. And that's like such a difficult thing to figure out on even when you have all the tools. It's so hard to figure out.
Tell us a bit about you, how Plugin Alley came to be. You literally went full time within the last year, which is crazy.
So I've been in the audio production space for over a decade, but professionally, I want to say like it's been like 8 years. Okay, so like 15 years in audio production, and like the last 8 were like more professional, and made a lot of records. And my last gig or job, I was working for an educational company that happened to do the same type of music production stuff. And working there, I was a community manager, so I managed the Facebook and community events and a whole bunch of stuff, and then helped out with like production and live streaming and just a lot of content stuff that I wasn't aware I was going to do at the time. But one of the things I did at that job was deal with all the brands for all the prizes. I was like the point guy for all that, and arranging sponsorships and everything, and dealing with all that stuff. And I saw on the back end how much these companies are like, they look at YouTube numbers and Instagram numbers before they look at anything else, and before they work with creators. And now for me, I always saw YouTube as like, I had the wrong notion about YouTube. I actually had always wanted to be a YouTuber since like 2014-ish, I think it was. But I was, one, scared and didn't want to like put myself out there and do it. And two, it's like the common thing, what will I talk about? Well, people don't want to hear from me. So you have like these negative voices in your head talking to you. And I talked myself out of it many, many times. And honestly, video editing was just so scary to me, even though I was making records and doing way more. Like, I don't want to say video editing is not hard, but what you have to do to make a record happen is so much more intimidating. But for me, video was like way more intimidating. But now that I do it, I'm like I would do this over making a record any day, just because of how fast the turnaround time is. So doing all that stuff and talking to these companies and seeing how they were analyzing and having to like position the brand to get certain prizes and deals, I was like, man, there is just so much upside to YouTube, and I'm really shooting myself in the foot by not jumping on it. And then through my contacts, I started meeting other musicians and people who utilize YouTube as to not only like push their careers, but really like build a platform for sustainability for retirement. And in the music world, there's no retirement plan. It's basically you freelance all day, every day. And if you're smart, you save money to when you can one day retire. But a lot of these guys, like, they don't think that way. And after their tier comes down after 10 to 12 years, they're left with like, trying to like work at a corporate audio job or something like that.
So you were thinking a couple steps ahead, basically.
Yeah, that's like, I've had that problem. I'm always thinking way too far ahead. And
I mean, obviously it's a good thing.
Yeah, I try to balance it out. It's getting better, but I was seeing all this, and I was like, I want to do a YouTube channel. Now, Plugin Alley was originally an e-commerce store for reselling software in my space that I started it. I got all these big contacts. One of my friends was really generous, and like, he connected me to one person that changed the trajectory of a lot of contacts and stuff like that, and getting a lot of products. But I knew nothing about building an e-commerce store. So I just like, I just am going to let this thing die. And I was trying to do a couple of YouTube tutorials. Again, I was scared. So I actually like conned my buddy into making a couple of videos for the channel originally. And I walked away from it, did the thing at the other job. And then I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to be a Facebook community manager anymore. Like, I got into music to make records, to help people make music. And now I'm just being asked to like stay in this one lane. And for a lot, it was a great job. Like, anyone on the outside would kill to have had my job. But for me as a creative, I was just like unfulfilled, unhappy, just couldn't do it. And I had this thing about always wanting to see how far I can go. And with YouTube, what enticed me was like, I don't think there's a ceiling to how far I could go with YouTube. It's just a matter of something new I had to figure out. And the idea of incorporating my love for music and making records and also having watched a ton of pros talk about stuff, I was like, I think there's something here for me to do over here. And I decided once I knew being a YouTube talent at the other place wasn't going to happen because I had expressed interest and it just wasn't like how they wanted to funnel the business. I was like, okay, that's like my sign. It's time to bail and basically rebuild myself from the ground up again. And I left that company and started the YouTube channel. Well, I didn't start right away. I quit, and then through 2021, I had been watching Ed's channel, Hayden Healer Smith's channel, vidIQ, pretty much channel makers when Nate was still there and it was still good, and watching all that stuff. And I was just studying at that moment in time because I just knew, I was like, I'm probably going to make the jump to YouTube. But because I'm older and I had done music, I was like, I need to find the commonalities that people talk about, and I need to cross-reference like all these commonalities. And to be honest, like that is not the best move when you go to YouTube because a lot of people are just winging it. And a lot of people who are telling you stuff in videos aren't actually giving you the full truth. And the one thing that like led me to Ed was like, he literally was like giving stuff away. So at the beginning of 2022, I took like a month off to work on some music that I wanted to do. And then in February, I was like, okay, I'm going to start like making tutorials like I used to do and just like post, see how it goes, practice my thumbnail skills. Thumbnails was another thing that scared me. Titles. I bought so many books on copywriting to understand like titles, but everything I learned was wrong after I learned how to make titles and thumbnails. Well, there's better resources now for sure. For like how to design thumbnails. I think there's like a couple of people who design thumbnails for big YouTubers who have like 1 or 2 videos on their channels that are actually like good for the most part, but those are more in real life type thumbnails and not really like what I was going for. But so much of the information on how to make good titles and thumbnails on YouTube is garbage, unfortunately. And it's because the people who actually know how to do it aren't going to just tell you how to do it unless it's like Ed, which always like it frustrates me. He gives like once you get more into his world, you realize you're really giving out, like if someone was smart enough to piece this all together, like that you've given everything out. It's just at that point, it's a practice figuring out what works for you. So I started posting tutorials, and there was like this quote in this video that people always talk about, like Mr. B says, get to your first 100 videos. And that's what I did. I was like, all right, I'm going to do 100 videos and I'm going to do 1 tutorial a day. And yeah. I did that for, I literally almost got to the burnout stage within 2 months, and I was getting no views, no subscribers, no nothing. And I was like, I stopped and I was like, something's not working. Like if I go at this rate for 100 videos, at the rate that I'm growing, nothing is going to exponentially change at 100 videos. I think I think that quote was taken out of context from a larger interview. This is my thoughts. Like that quote seems like something that was taken out of context in a larger interview. And there's a lot more subtleties around that statement, but a lot of people hear it and they think by 100 videos, I'll be good. When in reality, that's just not the case
Not
at
true at
all.
all.
Yeah. So once I got to that point, I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. And Think Media had a course. I got that course. I got Graham Stephan's course. I got into like, I was like in the second round of Creator Now. I was like literally just hungry for any information I could find. And I like randomly was just like, I wonder if Ed from Film Booth is doing anything, because he has like these one-on-one calls. But I knew, I was like, that one-on-one call is not going to be enough for me. Like I already know I have way too many questions and yada, yada, yada. So he luckily had the first round of edutainers set up, and I was like, okay, tight. And once I did that, it really helped shape the trajectory of 2023. But 2022, before that point, was just a lot of almost recipes for burnout. I would not recommend it for people, but there was one thing that Ed taught that really stuck out, that for me and to this day is still a struggle, but it makes all the difference in the world. And it's like why we're here, and that simple change is honestly like scripting my videos. And it's not just as simple as scripting, because when I was doing my YouTube research and looking at other people, one thing I noticed is like everyone's like, here's a script. And I'm like, these scripts are just like like tutorial videos, but you're writing the words. Like that just seems like so much extra work. Like, why would I do that? That makes no sense. And what I was doing before was literally winging it, or I would write an intro, wing the middle of the video, and then do an outro, and then sometimes do like write an intro, bullet points, and then write an outro. I was just writing intros and outros, but I didn't know how to write intros and outros, so it was just like it was not a good viewing experience, and my retention was so bad too. Like looking at my graphs was very frustrating because I was like, how can I improve this? Not knowing how to improve it. I'm like looking at, I'm like, how can I make my words better? And I didn't know how to analyze and, look at transcripts from other YouTube videos that are more successful than mine and figure out the language part. And that's a skill that I've developed. That's extreme. Once you know how to like see patterns in titles, thumbnails, and especially like intro hooks, scripts, the body of the scripts, it will completely change your videos once you can start spotting them. And as you get better and better, you start rewriting even when you're drafting, you're like, no, that's not gonna be good enough. And you just like rewrite. But I hate grammar. I hate writing. I didn't fail, but I barely passed English because all that stuff to me was just busy work. And to this day, I stand my ground on it's just busy work. I like to compare my workflow to like Marvel and movies in general and like studios. The reason they have to do so many reshoots and rewrites is because they don't have a good script before they go, and they spend millions of dollars doing this thing, and then they have to redo everything. It's because they're trying to churn things so fast, and that's part of what's led to like the decline in like what their brand. And now they realize we need to slow things back, giving Kevin Feige more time to review things and get things going again. But because they're churning out so much, quality goes down. That's just a rule of math. And any creator can look at that and be like, okay, if I'm just churning out video like every single day, or like, multiple videos a week, I am essentially working against myself in the quality, and eventually my viewers are going to be tired of it. So slow it down. And that's when I kind of realized, I was like, okay, these first couple of videos I've done, like since learning how to incorporate better script writing, have done better, but they're still not doing well. I need to like study more and read more and figure out what I'm doing wrong and where I can improve. So I look at that stuff like, okay, if I want to make a good video, and to me, a video is very like, a lot of people that I know in the space who make videos, they think of it as like, just shove out a video. For me, in my brain, how it works, it's kind of, I think because I like made records, that take is going to make a record that's going to impact someone's life. So like the way I view things from a producer, mixer, engineer standpoint is very different. And with the YouTube video, I see it as like a diary entry that's going to live there forever. Like my family watches my videos, like they're going to see this video. If it's not up to the quality that they know me or like anyone else, I'm like, this thing is forever. So I put so much more weight on every line that I write, every joke that I think of. Like, it's not just, okay, I'm just going to get this video to get out, which a lot of people do, and it works for them. That's fine. But for me, there's a level I want the videos to be at. I can't just churn out the videos. So the first important thing is the script has got to be tight. And even when I'm filming, sometimes I'll like do an ad lib or something. Again, like actors would do with the script when they're on set, be like, hey, I think the character would actually do this in this moment based on how we're interacting. So I give myself freedom while I'm filming, but I will not proceed forward until that script is A-okay. And there have been times where I film a video and as I'm editing it, I'm like, I absolutely hate this script now that I'm hearing it back and hearing like, this is garbage. And I've thrown out videos before and rewritten them from scratch multiple times. My review process is like, once I feel good about a script, then it's ready. I know some people are like, if you're spending more than a day, I'm like, this thing is forever. I will spend as much time as I need to, because the more time I spend on it and the better I feel about it, I'm going to feel better regardless of the results. Like if it doesn't do well, I can be able to say, well, I did my best work. Whether it did well or didn't do well, I can look at that video and be like, I still did my best job. It's like being in a band and you're only playing for like, other bands because nobody else bought the pre-sale tickets. It's like, if you're still showing up for you, the rest will come eventually. You just need to show up for you first. And I think a lot of creators like want to speed through the boring parts of YouTube, but it's like it's so
Yeah.
crucial in everything, and viewers will recognize it.
This isn't an edutainer's based thing. I think this should be an everyone thing. But just putting, what is it, like 20% of the work you put in can result in 80% of the results. But basically, John and I put most of our efforts into the packaging because the packaging really just defines the whole video. Like, it's literally what people want to watch, they're signing up for it. And then you reaffirm that with the script
You know
matters
what's
at that point.
funny about that is
Yeah.
I have like 2 videos I'm working on where it's just going to be me on camera.
Really?
And this is on purpose because my editing has gotten to the point to where I'm like the next level is almost unsustainable without an editor, and it's so hard to find an editor. So I'm like, okay, what I need to do is create like 4 to 5 different types of videos on my channel so I don't kill myself, because the videos I'm currently making, and they're doing great. Like, this is not throwing shade at my own work. It's just the amount of work and editing that I'm already doing. And I'm like, at 100,000 subscribers, people are going to expect million subscriber channel quality videos from my channel. Like, that's the kind of like, if you go to Plugin Alley, you watch my videos, and you're going to see like, it's not simple shit. And people, I've had editors who think they want to try out for me, watch my videos, and they're like, man, like, this is way beyond what I thought like you were talking
Yeah.
about for a YouTube video. And I'm like, because my videos are, even though it's all talking head with, I use motion graphics, PNG emotion, like motion effects, text on screen, music, sound effects. Like, there's so much shit going on in one of my videos that and that's not like, what my videos are right now are not what I actually want. I don't have the skill set to get them where I want yet. That's why it's like I'm trying to find an editor, but I don't have a big enough budget to afford like a big good editor who knows how to like do like film theories type stuff. Cause like the next evolution of my videos is gonna be like, redonkulous is the best word I can describe. Like, what I see in my head and what I want in my videos, like, it's every video I'm incorporating some new skill that I've seen somewhere else that I'm like, oh, how do I do that in my video? And then I'll spend like 3 days trying to research it, or a week. And then when I finally figure it out, I'm like, okay, how do I make this faster? Because I am so dumb that I need this to be so easy bake. Like, this needs to be instant, like brownies for me to continually do it. So with that in mind, I was like, okay, I've done so much live stream. I'm pretty good at like live video. And I was like, okay, that's something not a lot of creators can do. Like, being captivating and articulate on a live video and being conscious and entertaining, that's a skill set I can get better at and I'm already decent at. Why don't I like incorporate more live? So like, that's going to be another thing I bring in. But when it comes to like script writing, storytelling, sometimes when I'm watching my videos, I am throwing extra shit on screen just because I like, it's almost a TikTok effect, but it's also, people are like so used to the Mr. Beastification of YouTube, and a lot of people see them like everything's like like big and bold. It's like, no, what they're used to is like fast cuts, engaging something on screen all the time. It's almost like visual like candy at all times to keep you captivated while there's a good narrative. Because I hate the Mr. Beastification like title, like it's a bad thing. I'm like, no, he's just, his formula works for him, and other people try to emulate it and they don't do it right. I think it was like in a forum somewhere, someone was like saying how Eric was like Mr. Beast 2.0, and I was like, no, Eric, like, there's similarities because it's entertainment, but he does his own thing. Like, when I watch an Eric video, I don't feel like I'm watching a Mr. Beast video. When I watch a Ryan Trehan, like, they're all entertainers, like, but they all have their own distinct styles. It's the copycats that take it to literally 100, and you're just like, dude. And with that, Mr. Beastification, I'm like, man, there's so much. This is unsustainable. Like, editing, like, every time I come up with the video, I'm like, oh man, I'm excited for this video, but I'm not excited for the editing process because I don't like editing video at all. But what my preferred method of working is, if I can give like all the footage and everything to an editor, they give it back to me, and I go into the timeline and I leave notes or I tweak things a little bit, and then they make the fixes and they send it back. That's my ideal working relationship with editing a video. Like, I give you my ideas, I show you what I want, you go do it, because that's not where my genius is at. I'd rather have someone who loves editing do that stuff. Like, I'm not precious about it because I just know there's someone better out there than I am. And the kind of content I'm making, it's not me content, so I'm not, it's a business for me. So I'm like, It just needs to hit a couple of check marks on a board and I'm good. So I was with Ed doing his second channel creator booth, I was like, you know what? Next year, I'm going to make some videos that are literally me just talking to camera, and I'm going to make sure my script is tip top, and I'm going to challenge myself to make sure that every word that comes out of my mouth and my presentation skills, like that's a way for me to practice my to refine my script writing skills to create an engaging line, word after word, descriptive language, no visuals. Just how can I like articulate or project or make movements of my body that someone's engaged. Like you watch a movie and it's a monologue and you're just so enthralled by the monologue. Like the last really good monologue that blew my mind, it was in the Barbie movie when I forgot the actress's name. She just got nominated for a Academy Award. But her monologue, I can't imagine how many times they did it, but if I was fascinated because she goes from sitting to standing and she's moving her hands and arms and she's like pulling herself in, pulling herself out, saying each word. And to me, a light bulb went off where like, I was like, I need to work on my presentation skills when I'm making videos. Like I need to move everything and like just talk. And recently I just rewatched, going through all the Marvel movies again. I love the Daredevil Netflix show. So they're at the cemetery after they had like the big, spoiler warning, they've had the big fight with, I think it was like the Irish mobsters or whatever. And the Punisher's sitting on he's sitting on a tombstone, I think it is. And he's telling Daredevil the story about his daughter and the little nursery rhyme that's from her favorite book. And the whole, like, it's like almost a 10-minute scene that is just him talking, just sitting there, and every word that he's saying and his facial performance is captivating you. And for me, these light bulbs are going. I was like, I need to challenge myself to get better with script, like the words that I'm choosing to say, the phrases, how I'm structuring my sentences, the descriptive language, and even the pauses and breaths between certain words. So for me, I'm like, the easiest way to do that is to literally just do an A-roll video and focus on the script and my presenting skills. And that's just going to help my main videos get better and my live streams get better. But yeah, I'm dialing it back in some videos because I want to practice that. And the only way to do it is like, okay, bare bones. Like if I want to take it to the next level, I need to take this all to the next level at like the base camp essentially.
For you, it seems like you figured out how to bridge the gap between entertainment and education, aka edutainment. Because yeah, the Mr. Beastification, it doesn't work for me. It works for millions of other people, it doesn't work for me. And it's crazy to think that, similar to movies, we went from very simple scenes to all this CGI and crazy things going on, but what really captivated us with movies when we were like younger was just a powerful scene that made us laugh or made us cry or made us feel something serious.
Yeah.
So for you, when it comes to scaling that down, how are you going to, I guess, for more complicated subjects? Because I know nothing about audio stuff, obviously. But when you're talking about things and you have these visuals of, like, for example, a math teacher for Khan Academy, Once Upon a Time, those graphics suck. This was like 2010 plus. This is a guy just writing on paper how to do the math problem. So
Yeah.
for you, how are you going to kind of bridge that gap for more difficult subjects of this guy's talking, but I can't visualize what he's talking about, if that makes sense?
This series is going to be just me.
Cool.
Like even as I'm like writing some of the videos, I'm like, oh, I could use this image, and I'm like, no, I'm defeating the purpose because I also want it to be more intimate. So like in my mind, I'm like, this video, like I'm packaging the videos ideally to like hit between like on a target of 1 to 10. I'm hoping to aim and hit between like 5 and 7 is what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
Like people a little bit further down, but a pain point that a lot of people can relate to in the niche. Like every video idea that I have, I'm like, okay, this is like broad enough, but I want it to be more intimate because one thing that I've also picked up on with doing my videos is that there's not enough me personality in there. Like my personality comes on the edit, but it's just like I'm giving information, giving value, giving value, giving value. But if someone wants to know me or anything, there's not a lot of that in my videos. And this is a way for me also to like let people in a little bit and get to know me. Cause like
Yeah.
one of my videos almost has like it has over 200,000 views. And my brain can't process that. But all I can think is like, there's a lot of people that watch my videos that don't know me. And I want people to know me, not out of vanity, but it's like I want them to like know who they're watching. Like I want them to know I'm an actual real person and I have real opinions. I'm not like not everything's a tip and a trick. Like I have actual experience in the world of this industry and some things I've learned, and packaging those topics in a way that's engaging and hopefully like finds the right people. It's making myself a little bit more vulnerable, but not like, vulnerable for the sake of like being too open out there, but vulnerable enough to where the audience, if they're going through my channel and they're going through all the videos, they see this type of video and they click on it, like, I like his vibe. I feel like I know him now. And like, he relates even more to me. Next time he posts a video, I'm going to watch that video because even though he's giving me tips and tricks, like I know him, like he's only going to make a video that's worth it. And that's what my goal is with these videos, is to practice that other stuff, but also give viewers more of me. So I'm trying to stay away from, and if I don't, I'm calling them rant videos, even though they're not rants, they're scripted and
Sure.
they're going to be worded. But it's just me on camera, A-roll. For the most part, that's how I want to keep it. It's by design because I've watched so many people do them, and there's sometimes where I'm like, I'm watching a 12-minute video that I'm like, this video was over like 4 minutes ago. This could have been like a 5-minute video, but you're just ranting and like. But people, so I go through the comments and I'm like, I see how people love that stuff and engage with it. I'm like, I need to like do this in my way for my audience and for the channel and see how it goes. And also, every once in a while, I want to make a video that I talk about something I, deeply have an opinion on. And I don't want to know, I don't want to like a 3-week turnaround on a video. I was like, no, I just want to script this, take the week to script it, film it on Saturday, edit it on Sunday, post it on Monday, call it a day. Like, don't overthink the thumbnail. Make the title baller. I can always redo a thumbnail later as long as I know what the intro and I feel like it's so much easier to redo a thumbnail when I have a title that's baller and an intro I try to
Yeah.
keep my intros to the point, but open enough to where I know I won't pin myself in a corner if I have to redo a thumbnail later. And that's a skill that takes forever to figure out how to do.
What was your approach to writing before you got more intricate and picking out the idea, packaging, etc., to now? What does your writing process look like exactly?
Oh, it's the worst.
Before or
It's
now?
well, before it was terrible. Now it's like
Okay.
terrible, terrible. I have to describe this process because if I don't, it won't make sense.
Okay.
Notion doesn't work for me as much as I love the idea of Notion. I love the idea of Notion. Doesn't work for me. Every time I try to use Notion, it slows me down. I use ClickUp for managing my production schedule and keeping checklists and everything. I've tried writing in there, doesn't work. Sometimes in the morning or late at night, I'll just get like wind of something and I just go into my Apple Notes and I'll write and I'll write and I'll write and I'll write. And I won't have any like judgment on what I'm writing. I'll just write whatever I need to write. And like that's how I've noticed that when it comes to scripting and writing ideas, I need to capture it in the moment at that moment and I can refine it later. So the way I have like my old system was just Apple Notes, random stuff everywhere. Now what I do is I have like I'll create a new Apple Notes page and at the top I'll put the working title at the top. And then once I have the working title, I will go through and I will put down like the things I want to talk about in the video, like the 4 to 10 things. And those are just my draft ideas. Those aren't what I'm going to talk about. And this is all in Apple Notes. And the reason I prefer Apple Notes and it works for me is because if I'm on my iPad or my computer or my phone, it all syncs everywhere, everything everywhere all at once for me is how it is. And with Notion, I know I could put it on my phone and everything, but it's like I have to go to the app. I can literally just like go into Apple Notes and then have all my scripts in a folder and then go to that folder and just click on the first one, which is usually the last one I touched, and or scroll. And there's only like a couple of scripts in there or whatever. And it's all like right there for me. And it's super simple. So I write everything down and then I usually leave it alone at that point until I'm like 90% sure I know what the title and thumbnail are going to be. Now, something I do differently is I don't come up with very many thumbnail variations. I really try to get everything as good as possible before I even make the video. And I'm getting better and better at gauging what I think is going to do well, but I have to feel stoked about it. Again, it's going to live forever. So I'm like, okay, the title is good. The thumbnail I think works, and if anything comes, I can always change the thumbnail later as I get better with my skills, or I pick up on something new or whatever it is. So I just try to, on a scale of 1 to 10, I try to get the packaging to a 7, and I'm good with that. Like every once in a while, I have a 10. Maybe twice I've had a 10, actually. But once I have that down, I will literally, like, my process from ideation to full script being done can be up to like 3 or 4 months sometimes, because I have to be inspired to write whatever I'm going to write about. Like I might have a cool trick or something written down as one of like the talking points, but until I know how to phrase it, or I have like a cool way to spin it, because sometimes something that sounds boring to me, I know is actually, it's like, it's boring because it's like such a simple thing, but how do I describe this in a way to someone to excite them? And do I use animations? What's a joke? And that's part of what also takes a while, is like, okay, I need, now that I have these 4 things, I need to wait to be inspired. And then what jokes do I want to put in this? Now on my channel, some of the videos follow certain formats, and there's certain style of jokes that I put into them, so it's fresh and it's not the same on every video. A viewer wouldn't catch on to them, but me or an editor would catch on to them, or someone who's wise would be like, oh, these videos have this going on, these videos have that going on. Even though they all kind of look the same, there's different things happening that create a sense of difference, but it's kind of the same, so you won't notice it. Once I have that stuff written down, then I jot, and I will just randomly write stuff down. And now I'm at the point where I've gotten some pretty good ChatGPT prompts that I will not share with people watching this, because you're not ready yet. And these prompts, it's taking so long to figure them out. And that's part of the reason why I won't share them. I know it sounds like douchey or
They're
bad,
probably
but it's
20
like
lines.
there's a lot there. Yeah, it's not simple stuff, but also you have to know a lot about your audience and the videos that have worked for you and the intimacies of it, and like, there's so many little finite things that you need to know in order for the prompts to work. If you don't know, the prompts are actually worthless. But to someone who does know, it makes life so much easier. So after I get like an initial draft of the script, I'm like, okay, now it's time to refine. And that's when I get ChatGPT involved. And it's been making my life a little bit easier. ChatGPT spews something out, I refine it, and then I do that for each section of the video. I will even ask ChatGPT to like give me 5 transition sentences for each section of the video. Sometimes I'll keep it, sometimes I throw it out. Sometimes I hate what ChatGPT gave me, but they gave me like a different way to look at the script, so then I rephrase it, send it back, gives me an alternate version. I'm like, it's getting better, and then I send it back, send it back, send it back. And sometimes, for me, it's all about like, what is like, I put so much pressure on each word. I'm like, oh, this phrase sounds cool. And then the hard part is with ChatGPT, because it's like a closed loop essentially, where it doesn't know all the most recent information. It's really hard to get it to give me good, like, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Like pop culture references, because I use a lot of pop culture references in my videos. So it's really tough to get it to that. So that's like, I will sit on the script until I'm like, okay, I want to put that meme there, that thing there. Because like that stuff to me is so important that I will sit on the script until I have these things figured out. And sometimes in the edit, a joke that I thought was good when I wrote it down, or like a quip or something, I'll be like, man, this actually is really lame. This other thing will work better. And sometimes there's a spot where I'm like, this meme will make even like be hilarious right here. And I'll go grab that meme and throw it in the video. But because I'm already thinking of that stuff, I have like fail safes in case, in terms of jokes that work. And once I get that point going, then I will finally put it into Google Docs for the editor and for archiving. And then in my version, Apple Notes then goes onto my teleprompter. Now, I kind of cleaned it up, but it's a mess. If someone was to see my notes and they were to see my script writing process, it'd be so bad. Like, they'd be like, well, how do you understand what is happening? I'm like, because this is me. This is my brain. Like,
This
this is
is
how
me.
it works. Yeah. But I've tried so many other people's methods, and I really think that when it comes to script writing, you need to find what works for you, and kind of you have to figure out how your brain works. And a really good book, it's called When, and from Daniel Pink, and it's basically like, when are you figuring out your schedule, and like, when are you best motivated, when are you most creative. I think it's really important for a creator to like understand that about themselves because like some people are like wake up at like 6 a.m. and then by 9 o'clock you're working on scripts and yada. I'm like, I am not programmed to like. I'm a morning person, but I'm not programmed to like. I have to when I have the little spark of creativity. I will put everything aside. I won't work out. I'm like, I can work out later. I can do this thing later. I can do that later. Like everything goes aside because that moment right there, I'm like, I am in the zone and I need to work on whatever it is I need to work on right now. Because if I don't, I'm gonna lose that spark. And I know how rare and hard it is for me to get back to this place. And I know a lot of people talk about like curating it and creating systems to build it. But my bet, I do that, but the scripts and my best work always comes out from those moments. And so I really treasure them. And I'm like, I will just, I was going to work out, but now I'm going to work out later on in the afternoon. Like that's just, I'm going to do this. And I will do that all the time. And that book really helped me kind of like fine tune how I work. Cause some people try to put themselves on different schedules that people recommend. And it's like, no, you got to figure out what works for you. And then like, give yourself permission to exploit it when you're most creative. Like some people are like, oh, I feel so bad. I'm most creative at midnight. It's like, no, that's good. Be most creative at midnight and everything else, like move everything else in your life around that because that's your zone of genius. Don't feel bad because everyone else is asleep or they're like, obviously if you have a spouse or someone, like have a conversation like, hey, this is when I'm most creative. This is when I'm most inspired. Like have those conversations, but don't feel the need to like confine your creativity because in the end it's like if you're working against yourself you're going to burn out and you're not going to want to do it. So and sometimes I will be dead tired and then wake up like in the middle of the night and be like, oh my god, this is like how I do that thing, and I will get my phone and just type, and I won't even be thinking. I'm just typing, turn off my phone and go back to sleep, and then I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what was half awake John thinking about? But then I'm like, and on days like that too, where I'm like, I'm not motivated to work, something I highly recommend is like literally going for a walk. It sounds so dumb, but some of my best ideas have also happened from like I'm pondering on a thumbnail or a title or a video and I'm stuck on a part of the video, just going on a walk. And then all of a sudden I come home and I'm like, I know how to do this thing and I know how to fix it. So those are just that's like my system. It's all over the place.
And with that, I kind of
Yeah.
just wanted to transition into some buzzword talk because it's interesting to see what
Oh,
everyone thinks about this.
okay.
So, do you think does retention matter to you, or do you think it's just another buzzword? Because you used to average. You sent me the charts, and I'll be sure to show it in the video. You used to average 17% retention before scripting, and then after you
Mm,
switched to writing and the edutainer's way of doing things, you started to average 50 to 60%. In which this is, you told me this is like something you don't even actively check. So, do you
yeah.
think that the increase in retention led to your 1 million views in that 1 year, or do you think it was like something else or a combination of things?
It's a combination of things, but I don't. I know a lot of people stare at the retention graphs. I don't.
Yeah.
Um, I truly, I go by views. So I have like a really twisted way of viewing the world because I know so many bigger channels than me. So I go by views because to me, it's like retention doesn't mean jack shit in my book. And the reason I mean this is like, it's going to sound like cruel, but it's a reality. If you have 1,000 subscribers, you can have a 75% retention rate, but then your click through rate is crap. All that means is that your hardcore fans are watching your videos all the way through, but your video is not branching out. So you can have a high retention, but your video is not going anywhere. Only the people who care about you are watching the videos. So YouTube's not even pushing your video. It's just, the few select people are watching, your click through rate's like 3%, but your retention's higher. And you could think, oh, this is really good. It's not until YouTube pushes it out and then you see your retention drop to like 20 or 17%. You're like, shit, there's a problem here. And you don't know what the problem is because for months, your videos, you're like, I average like 50%. But when the video branches out, it just bombs. So like you're going by this false information because that's kind of how YouTube works. So like when I see my retention, it's like 75% the first 24 hours because my fans are watching. And I'm like, yeah, they're watching all the way through. But then when it branches out, it drops to like 40% or something like that. And I'm like, okay, so that's like, that's what I call my honest retention. Like, if we're being honest, that's like a decent retention graph for someone who's branching out, and I have like over 100, 200,000 impressions. I'm like, okay, that's the reality of what my retention is. So once I figured that out, I was like, okay, retention isn't what we've been led to believe, and it's a buzzword. To me, it's a buzzword. What are my views saying? Like, my views are going to tell the story. If my views on average when I post a video, I like to think, okay, I should have within 30 days, probably about like 75% of my subscribers numbers in terms of views. So if like right now I'm at 11,000 subscribers, if in 30 days I should be at like, what is the math on that, like 7,500, 8,500 or something like that, like I should be at 75% within 30 days. Now if I'm there within like a week, then I know that I'm doing a good job, and YouTube is going to brand and push my video out, and that video is going to do well over the long term. But I like to give myself a 30-day window because I'm such a small channel still, and it lets me know like the views are coming in because my video is engaging enough, I'm doing better. And then I also like to think of it as like, you are the algorithm, because the algorithm wants this, the algorithm wants that. YouTube wants people to make videos that keep people on the platform. Mr. Beast has said it. And the best way to describe it is, if you're creating any type of content, when you watch the video, if you cannot watch it all the way through, you might need to do some tweaks. Or if you can watch it all the way through, but you can't do any better, just accept it, post it. You're going to get better on the next video. Don't obsess about it. But for me, one big rule that I have is I need to be able to watch one of my videos and not know I just watched a minute of video. And because like all the best YouTube videos I watch, all the YouTubers I love, I'm like 2 minutes into one of their videos and I didn't even realize 2 minutes had gone by. And that's like part of the magic of making a video that's going to get views and captivate audience, and YouTube's going to push. It's like, I need to put so much effort into the intro and the build up and the setup and all that stuff, because if a viewer watches my video and they get past the first 2 minutes and they didn't even realize a minute passed by, they're in. And a lot of people will say there's like someone had like a number. I forgot what it was, but I was like, that's like roughly about a minute to 2 minutes. That's what my theory's been. It was like some convention on YouTube, and this person was like, if you can get this to like 75% or whatever. And when I calculated, I was like, this is the theory that I've had, where if you can get someone to watch your video and not notice they've watched it for 1 to 2 minutes, your video is going to get pushed and pushed and pushed over time. As YouTube gets to know your audience and the people that like these type of videos, they're going to keep pushing it, and it's going to keep doing better. But if I went based on like retention, it would distract me from like, the views is what matters ultimately, and your subscriber count. And I also don't ask people to subscribe on videos because I focus on the quality of the video, and the packaging and everything. I'm like, so yeah, long answer short, I think retention is something to think about, but there are so many other factors to making a quality YouTube video, like thumbnail, title, idea to a degree, and like your script in general. You can't polish a shitty script with video effects and stuff like that. If your script isn't tight, it doesn't matter how much editing you have in a video. That's why some videos where it's just someone talking to the camera will have so many views, because their personality and everything they're saying is so engaging and enthralling that the viewer wants to watch their personality. Like they'll watch it. Whereas someone who can have a whole bunch of crap going on screen, but a shitty script, people are going to click off, because like you can't polish a turd essentially. So yeah, I go back to like movies, and like, if you don't have a good script, you shouldn't be on the set. And I think
No.
Nick Offerman recently said, it's like, if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage, when they were doing the strikes. Because I was like, I really like, the moment I can get someone else to do my script writing and teach them how I do it, and I can trust them with it, I will, because that's not my zone of genius. And I would love to have someone who loves script writing to do my scripts and learn how to do it. But I also am like, I will review the scripts, because if the script isn't where it needs to be, the video will never be where I need it to be. Again, I'm aiming for 7s. If I get someone who's excellent at script writing, they can get to an 8. My video now gets to an 8 or 9. And if I find an editor who can take my ideas and make them reality, all of a sudden my video goes from an 8 to a 9 or a 10. on my grade scale. And that's why it's so important. It's like, yeah, title and thumbnail are super important. I would even say intro is like immensely important as well, and your outros. And it's all part of packaging, but people don't think about that stuff. But man, that script, if your script isn't tight, it's just you're wasting the viewer's time, you're wasting your time. But I think it's even more important, like you don't want to waste someone else's time. Time is so limited, it's a finite resource. Everything should matter that what you put into a video and what you say in every line. And someone should be getting value out of every word that you say and how you're building it up at all times.
Where do you get your storytelling inspiration from, and how do you still ethically? Like, how do you still like an artist?
Oh, so because I'm in music,
Oh
I
yeah.
grew up doing cover bands, writing all music. So for me, it's like the way I approach that stuff is the same way I approach music. It's you take inspiration from, and I truly believe that whatever you're trying to emulate and do, your way of doing it is just naturally going to come out different if you're staying true to yourself as a creative. So it's like I really love the film theory, game theory channels like Matt Pat's stuff. Huge inspiration. Finzar as well. So a lot of the stuff that they do in their videos, I've tried to figure out and do in my videos. And my version's always different because what I actually like, the inspiration is different, and what I end up doing is different because what I want to come out of that thing is different. So for me, it's all about like, oh, what do I like here? What do I like there? When I see something that I like, I put it into a playlist, and I'll just make notes in my Apple Notes of like inspiring things I've seen in other videos. So whenever I'm in an edit and I'm like, man, what is there something different I can do here? I'll go like look through my list and be like, this thing, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. And then I sit there for another 2, 3, 4 hours figuring out how to do it, sometimes a day. And then when it comes to together, now I know how to do it. It'll be faster the next time. But now I have this new trick that I can do visually. And that's the same thing with music. It's like, what can we do here in this chorus of this song to make it stand out? We can do a cool violin run like in this one song. And then I sit there and I program on it like in the computer, like a violin run or something. So for me, it's that stuff in my mind. Like I have a better gauge of ethically balancing that because I'm in the music world. But I think someone who's like not in the music world, like a plumbing channel or something, would probably have a little bit of difficulty establishing that ethic boundary as opposed to someone else. But I think ultimately, if you're copying just to copy, you're not actually learning anything. Like if you're going to copy, take it in the mindset of like, okay, how would I do this? And if you don't know what the answer is, sure, copy it, like see how it does, but then like force yourself to like, how can I make this better? Because your own video and everything's gonna speak for yourself, and you're gonna, after you sit on something and you get time and experience, you'll look back and be like, oh, that thing, I copied it from that other thing that seemed to do well, but I'm gonna try it this way, and then you go that way. I think just being open to experimenting, and sometimes you do have to blatantly copy, but I think blatantly copying over and over and over again is a mistake because you're only harming yourself, because then you're going to be the same. To your point about those channels, you're going to be the same as another channel. What's going to make differentiate you? What's going to make you different is you. It's kind of like put the you in YouTube, like put you into your videos. It's literally the name of the platform. So just have fun with it.
I saw in a YouTube scriptwriting community you were a part of that I really liked. Wait, because I've also read some of the book too, Save the Cat. Is you mentioned the importance of creating log lines and how they can help with writing. So, could you just briefly talk about what a log line is and yeah, how that helps you with writing or how it can help other people?
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know, but before a movie's even written, they'll literally pitch to studios, we have this movie. And then it's a sentence that they pitch to executives, and the executives can imagine what the movie's about. And then they say, yeah, let's like, let's get it. Let's get a script going. Let's see what this turns out to be. And that's when you'll see like this movie named this just got this writer. And you're like, wait, it wasn't written before? It's because that's not how it works. Executives need to envision it. So for me, I like to think as sometimes the title is interchangeable to me as the log line, but the log line is essentially like your idea. Like how would you describe this idea to someone at the simplest form so that they know you're talking about? So if I was making a video about like ranking things, I'm like, oh, you ever watch like one of those shows on VH1 of like 20 top records of all time? Yeah, the video is basically that, but for YouTube. And like 20 most informative guitar videos of all time or something. Like you just pitch it in a way someone can relate to, be like, oh, okay. And then you'd be like, I tried every guitar from top ranked YouTube videos ever. And then you make a baller thumbnail to that and you got a video. Like that's how my brain thinks of things now, is like, okay, the log line is essentially the pitch. And then the title sometimes the idea is the title. I'll come up with the title and I'm like, that's the idea. And I'm like, that's my log line. Like, I don't need to change anything. Like, I imagine when they pitched Jurassic Park, it was literally just Jurassic Park. Dinosaurs in a park? Yes. Make the movie. And like in my mind, there was no one sentence. It was like, that's probably like, maybe there was, but I'm like, that's probably like, if you say Jurassic Park, you're like, I can see the movie. I see it now. Steven Spielberg, get him on the phone. But that's how I think of it. And I think one of the things that when I watch all these smaller channels, how I'm struggling on YouTube, because I also watch those videos just because it's humbling. Because this is gonna sound jaded and really bad, and I've talked to my family about this. I'm like, I hate saying it this way, but it's just true. It's like me having 10,000 subscribers to some people means nothing, but to some people who've been doing YouTube for like 5 years and 10 years and can't even crack 1,000 subscribers, I'm like, my metric of success is so skewed and different from theirs because of how, just fortunate I am, and being able to be in places and circumstances that have allowed me opportunities to excel in the YouTube game. So even though I have like 10,000 subscribers, it's just a different way of viewing the world. Whereas like some channels are much bigger, some of these smaller channels view them, it's like, well, they don't play the same rules, man. Like you need to first, like, how do you make your idea sound cool and good? And that's when you're like, you're on the right path. Because a lot of people be like, people always have these type of questions. It's like, okay, yeah, people have those type of questions, but do they really? Like, you're making videos for a very specific audience, your video. And videos take so much effort, no matter if you're doing a A-roll camera or a simple tutorial. It's like the amount of effort you're going to put into a video, to edit it, to upload it. Anything that takes more than an hour of your time, to me, is an effort. So if you're only putting in like 10% of that hour into your idea and then upset that you're only getting like a 1% result, you might need to rethink how you're selling that idea. What is the log line? Like, what if you're doing a video on like plumbing and, for example, cleaning out the sink, when it falls into the pipe in the sink right underneath like your faucet or whatever, and you're making a video on like cleaning it out. A lot of people are like, I'm going to show you how to clean this faucet out. It's like, okay, cool. There's like a million of those on YouTube, and be like, instead, why don't you make it like top three mistakes new homeowners make in every house? And then in that video, you talk about how they don't check the water flow, they don't check the piping, and they don't clean the piping just to make sure it's clean, because what can happen is the buildup can cause like this issue or that issue. Like, there's different ways to like sell the pitch, which is your log line, and then come up with the title of the video. My friend Marie, shout out to Humble Bee and Me, she calls me the king of spin, because I like, she'll come up with like an idea and I'm like, yeah, or you can say it like this. And she's like, oh my God, yes. And that's how I think of logline and titles and ideas. It's like the most boring and mundane thing, if you spin it right, can intrigue almost anyone. And if you put in stakes of like why this is important, like fake drama, essentially, that's what YouTube is all about. And once you figure and hone that out, it's like, okay, this is my logline, this is my idea, this is my title, I'm gonna go make this video.
What do you think most people get wrong when it comes to writing or scripting for YouTube?
They don't think about the viewer, and they don't know their viewer enough. I think there's so much content on like getting better click-through rates, better titles, better like make your video footage better. But there's not a lot of videos on how to get to know your potential viewer better. And I think that's the biggest mistake holding back YouTubers, is like everything you do, from your thumbnail to your title to your idea to your script, everything, it all goes back to a person, an individual who's going to watch you on their phone, their tablet, their computer, their TV. Like, someone is going to give you their time. You need to know that person. you need to have an idea of what their struggles are, what their wants, their desires, their ambitions, their fears. All that stuff matters. And a lot of YouTubers just like, I'm just gonna make a video and see what sticks. It's like, well, yeah, anyone can do that and eventually have success and then kind of wing it from there. But if you can get really fine tuned on who your ideal avatar is, the lingo, or viewer is, YouTube gets much easier. And as you get more information and you get videos that do better and you kind of see comments, you refine who these people are exactly that you're trying to help by making these videos, and who they're like, who YouTube is going to find and reach to. Because also, if you're like, a lot of people's channels, they're all over the map and they're like, my channel is just growing. It's like, well, yeah, you have like 20 different formats on your channel. You're making 20 different types of videos. I know people say throw, everything to the wall and see what sticks, but it's like, if your channel, if people don't know what to expect from your channel, if like they subscribe for your vlog, but then you make like a iPhone review, that's not why they subscribed. And the people who subscribe for the iPhone review, they're seeing you do like a movie review. It's like, no, I thought you were a tech channel. So many small YouTubers or YouTube channels in general that could have thousands of
Yeah.
views. They're like, why do some of their videos might only get like 100 views? They're like, why is it? And like, you have 100K because you made like 5 videos 10 years ago on like fixing a car, and those are the ones that got your channel so high over the past like 10 years. But all your other content is going to be views, because that's not why these people subscribed. And now that you have ghost subscribers, because some people just forget to unsubscribe. They don't audit their subscription list. They just subscribe and that's the end of it. They don't do scrubs. So your channel's low. You need to make sure you have an idea of who that person is, because then it's going to dictate better what you're making, like who you're making videos for. And YouTube is not there to grow your channel. It's there to find videos that serve a viewer that keeps them on the platform. A lot of people are like, I made a video, no one's watching it. YouTube's not saying my video. People, it's like, you didn't make a good enough video. YouTube's not about finding viewers for your video. It's about finding videos for viewers. It's the opposite of what a lot of people believe. And that's the algorithm, is people. Like, you don't need to get any more scientific than that. The algorithm isn't something working against you. It's marketing your video well enough, no, because you know your viewer, and then making a good enough video that keeps them watching and wanting to watch more of your content. And if more people are watching your content, YouTube's going to push your channel more and you're going to grow faster. Last year also, like, we didn't mention this, I only posted like 18 videos last year and I grew. So like, that's another thing that in my mind, like, it doesn't compute, but it's like, I didn't post like more than one video every couple of months because I took time off, worked on ideas. This year, I already have like a slew of ideas. So I'm like, that should do better. That should do better. That should do better. And my goal this year is like, I'm hoping I can get to 30K, like just posting, but I'm going to be more adventurous while I'm posting. But I know who my viewer is. And I also know I want to make certain videos that get more intimate with those viewers, that bring them more into knowing who I am. And those type of videos are going to, not take off. But then I have other big ideas. And then once this channel makes more money, I have even bigger ideas that haven't been done in my space that I'm gonna do. Once the channel has money, I can do those videos, because there's some ideas I have, I'm like, I don't have the money to do it, but that will also be ideal for my ideal viewer that they'll want to watch. But because it will cost money to do these things the way they want to see them, I have to wait until I have the money to do these certain things. And it's like, money, not having enough money to do ideas sucks, but every decision, every video I'm making comes down to, I know my viewer. I have an idea who they are. I get to know them better the more successful videos do. I think every YouTuber that doesn't take the time to understand their viewer is making the biggest mistake. You shouldn't just throw shit on the wall. I think that's bad, terrible advice that so many people on YouTube give. Unfortunately, like, I understand the idea of it, but I know it just doesn't work out if you just don't know what your channel's about, and two, is it something you want your channel to be about? But
Yeah.
if you're really honest about who your ideal viewer is, you'll know what kind of content to make at that point, and you just got to stick to it and get better at making it.
And is there anything else you just want to share about your experience or any upcoming projects?
YouTube is exhausting. No, but it's very rewarding. And I mentioned at the very beginning that, like, I always like to see how far I can get to something, like in jobs and everything. I'm always like, where's the ceiling? And with YouTube, what's so crazy to me is there is no ceiling. And a lot of people are like, well, YouTube is doing this and doing that and it's oversaturated. It's not oversaturated, actually. It's just like, again, if I parallels to my audio world experience, people always like the music world's oversaturated, gatekeeping, all this and that. I'm like, the more and more and deeper I get into the YouTube world, it's not like that at all. It's just cream always rises to the top. Unfortunately, there's just a lot of soot out there. And unfortunately, we see a lot of soot. And if we're being honest as creators, we're putting out soot. We don't know or are not equipped with the right tools. So I do think, shout out to Ed from Film Booth. I can't recommend enough like his Thumbnail University. I can't recommend enough George Blackman's script writers community that he has. Edutainers, I think, are great resources. What's the name of that? The Thumbnail 101 is pretty good stuff. Yeah, but like these are, I know firsthand they're great resources. I've bought so many. Oh, Hayden Healer Smith. I cannot recommend his channel enough. Honestly, his editing, just watching his videos on how he's just doing A-roll, but he can make such engaging videos with just A-roll. If you really watch his videos, you forget you're watching him just talk to the camera. Like he's sitting there with an iPad talking to the camera, but you forget because his editing is so well done. You forget he's just a guy in a chair. And that's really his channel really helped inspire, like, oh, I don't need to go walk around a lot. I can just, for the first 2 years of this channel, just talk to the camera. And as I bring people on board, I can hire a videographer and be like, all right, cool. You're going to film me for this video because this idea, I have to be walking around and talking. We have the lav mic, but I really highly recommend his channel. Me actually binging his channel is what led to me finding Ed from Film Booth. So shout out to Hayden, all the insights he is ever getting. The editing podcast is another great resource.
Sure.
But yeah, like Colin and Samir, I have this thing about YouTube strategists and advisors and stuff. It's like, unless you're a practitioner, Patty Galloway, unless you're a practitioner and they're actually like making videos and they know what it's like to make a video and they have a pretty good substantial like platform and subscriber base and views base, it's very hard for me to take advice from anyone who's not a YouTuber on YouTube advice, because I'm like, you actually don't, like, you're just spewing numbers at me. You're just telling me this and that. Like you don't actually know what it takes to do this. And it's the same thing from the audio world. It's like one of my old mentors was like, be very careful with the advice you listen to or take from somebody who's either not the level that you want to be at the level you aspire to be at, or has the experience that relates to where you're at. It's like a lot of people have opinions, a lot of people have insights, but if they're not doing the thing you want to do at the level or higher than the level you want to do it at, take it with a grain of salt. It's not going to take you to where you need to go. You need to make sure you're taking advice from people who are at or where you want to be. So all the creators that I mentioned, I would go and binge all of their content and watch it over and over, because you can watch one thing once, but I think doing, for YouTube at least, absorbing the information multiple times and so going and practicing it, things start clicking more and more as you practice and you figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And a book, The YouTube Formula, I highly recommend that too.
I'm going to be linking anything related to John in the description. His channel, Plug and Alley, I believe he has a newsletter. Anything related to John will be in the description. John, thanks for taking the time. As always, I'm so happy to just share the nuggets of knowledge you give me in DMs with other people. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for inviting me. This was super fun.